These words are more than a quote. They are a mirror reflecting the way we move through our relationships, how we love, how we give, and how we slowly lose pieces of ourselves without even realizing it. Imagine a person who pours everything into a relationship: attention, affection, understanding. They listen deeply, they forgive easily, they give endlessly. And yet over time, something painful happens. The more they care, the less they seem to matter. Their kindness becomes expected. Their presence becomes background noise. Their voice becomes faint and forgettable. Days pass where their efforts go unnoticed, their emotions go unacknowledged, and their needs sit quietly in the shadows. They start to feel invisible, unheard, and emotionally powerless. And in that quiet suffering, a question rises like a whisper, a question that feels almost forbidden to ask. What if the issue isn't that you love too much, but that you understand power too little? This is where Machiavelli enters, not as a villain, not as a mastermind of manipulation, but as a thinker who studied patterns most people are too afraid to admit exist. He wasn't encouraging cruelty. He wasn't promoting cold, emotionless living. He was revealing the subtle, hidden forces that govern human behavior, forces that show up in our relationships, often without our awareness. His ideas weren't meant to make us cold. They were meant to make us aware of how easily love turns into dependency, how quickly affection becomes expectation, and how often our deepest intentions end up disempowering us. Machiavelli has been misunderstood for centuries. People call him ruthless, calculating, even heartless. But if you look deeper, you see something entirely different. He was brutally honest about human nature, about how people act when their emotions, fears, desires, and self-interest collide. He understood that people aren't consistent. They aren't always fair. They aren't always appreciative. And this matters in relationships because relationships aren't built on love alone. They're built on influence. Influence is the quiet force that determines who gets heard, who gets prioritized, and who gets slowly pushed to the background. Influence decides whether your needs matter or become an afterthought. When emotions collide with power, the truth of a relationship emerges. Machiavelli helps us see those truths clearly, without romantic illusions or denial. And once you see them, you can never unsee them. One of Machiavelli's first secrets is simple but transformative: control the frame. The person who defines the meaning of interactions controls the emotional narrative. Most people lose power because they are reacting instead of setting the tone. They chase instead of responding. They let the other person's mood dictate the direction of the relationship. They give so much room for others' emotions that they forget their own. Machiavelli believed that the one who maintains emotional composure becomes the unspoken leader. Imagine a conflict. One person speaks loudly, emotionally, rapidly. The other stays grounded, patient, intentional. Who really holds the power? It's not the louder voice, it's the calmer one, because calmness sets the frame. Calmness decides when the conversation truly begins and ends. Emotional boundaries are another form of framing. When you decide what behavior is acceptable, when you choose when to engage and when to step back, you reshape how others value you. When you let people cross every boundary without consequence, they learn that your space is optional and your comfort is negotiable. But when you hold steady, when you calmly reinforce what you deserve, people begin to treat you differently. This isn't about dominance or manipulation. It's about self-respect. It's about refusing to let others define your worth through their moods, inconsistencies, or shifting attention. When you control the frame, you reclaim the emotional narrative of your own life. Machiavelli also understood something profound. People reveal their true selves through their desires and fears. And in relationships, influence doesn't come from force. It comes from understanding. People don't bond deeply with those who correct them. They bond with those who see them, who understand them, who reflect back the emotional truths they can barely articulate themselves. When you mirror someone, not copy them, but reflect their emotional tone, you create an unspoken connection, mirroring their calm when they're anxious, their passion when they're excited, their depth when they're vulnerable, builds trust effortlessly. It signals, I understand you. I'm in tune with you. I'm present with you. And humans crave being understood more than they crave being loved. Think of the people you felt closest to in your life. It wasn't always because they loved you. It was because they got you. They understood your highs and lows, your dreams and insecurities, your rhythms and your silence. That's why some relationships feel magnetic. They are built not on domination, but on emotional resonance. Machiavelli wasn't teaching manipulation. He was teaching awareness of the emotional currents that shape human connection. But he also warned about giving too much too soon. Never give all of yourself at once. Power fades when nothing is left to discover. Mystery isn't manipulation, it's emotional pacing. When you reveal everything immediately, you cheapen your emotional currency. You give away the depth that should be earned step by step. People value what they earn more than what is handed to them effortlessly. When you share your entire heart on day one, it feels profound in the moment. But over time, it becomes predictable, accessible, and eventually taken for granted. That's why controlled vulnerability is so powerful. Share, but don't spill. Be open, but not exposed. Reveal your truth, but not your entire history, trauma, or emotional landscape all at once. Let people earn access to deeper parts of you. When someone works for your trust, they treat it with more care. When someone has to show consistency, effort, and loyalty to reach your inner world, they respect it more. Emotional connection thrives on authenticity, but emotional dependency kills influence. Machiavelli reminds us that withholding isn't coldness, it's wisdom. It's protecting the parts of you that deserve to be honored, not consumed. Predictability, he argued, makes people take you for granted. Humans adapt quickly. What is consistent becomes invisible. When you do the same things, speak in the same ways, show up with the same energy, the mind stops paying attention. In relationships, too much predictability creates emotional monotony. Not because the relationship is bad, but because the human brain is wired to tune out what never changes. Strategic unpredictability reignites curiosity and respect. It doesn't mean playing games or being erratic. It means adding subtle freshness to the relationship. A surprise gesture, a shift in routine, a boundary they didn't expect you to hold. A moment where you choose to walk away from drama instead of engaging in it. When someone cannot fully predict you, they stay attentive. They stay invested. They value the connection more. It reminds them that you are not stagnant, not replaceable, not someone whose presence can be taken as a given. This isn't manipulation. It's the natural rhythm of keeping a relationship alive, dynamic, and emotionally stimulating. Machiavelli also believed that respect is stronger than love. Because love without respect collapses. You can be loved and still ignored. You can be cared for and still not prioritized. You can be someone's comfort, someone's habit, someone's home, and still be treated casually simply because they never learned to respect you. Respect isn't created by affection. It isn't created by attachment. Respect is created by consistency, boundaries, self-worth, and emotional stability. When you hold yourself to a standard, when you treat yourself with dignity, others recognize it, whether consciously or subconsciously. Respect doesn't require force or fear. It requires clarity. It requires you to know what you stand for and what you refuse to tolerate. It requires the courage to walk away from situations where you are only loved in words, not in actions. Respect transforms relationships more than love ever could because love wavers, but respect endures. Another Machiavellian insight is powerful and emotionally challenging. Reward loyalty, withdraw from disloyalty. People repeat what they are rewarded for. If you reward bad behavior with forgiveness, attention, or extra effort, it will repeat. If you reward inconsistency with patience, it will repeat. If you reward disrespect with more understanding, it will repeat. But if you reward loyalty with warmth, appreciation, and openness, that too will repeat. Machiavelli teaches balanced emotional investment. When someone shows integrity, support, or care, lean into it. When someone disrespects you, step back. Not dramatically, not with anger, simply with calm withdrawal. Emotional self-protection is not cruelty, it is self-preservation. And sometimes the greatest act of self-respect is the courage to stop pouring into someone who only takes. But all of these ideas lead to Machiavelli's final and most important principle: master yourself first. The highest form of influence comes from self-control. The most powerful person in a relationship is the one who is least controlled by fear, jealousy, insecurity, or emotional impulsiveness. When you master your reactions, your emotional storms, your anxieties, your triggers, you stop being pulled by the tides of other people's behavior. Inner stability creates outer influence. People trust, respect, and follow those who are grounded. Emotional mastery is not the absence of feeling, it is the ability to choose your response. It is the deepest, most unshakable form of power. Because when you control your internal world, the external world loses its ability to shake you. And so as we reach the end of this journey, there is a truth that needs to be spoken clearly. You don't gain power in relationships by being cold, cruel, or manipulative. You gain power by understanding how human emotion works and by refusing to abandon yourself in the process. You gain power by seeing clearly, loving wisely, and holding your inner ground no matter how turbulent the emotional weather becomes. The real message is simple, timeless, and liberating. Machiavelli's real lesson isn't about controlling others, it's about no longer surrendering your power.